Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and I hope and pray y'all are having a very blessed day. So it's been a while since I did a video like this. I'm still trying to get into the swing of things of making more content. If everything goes according to plan, more than likely I will be doing YouTube full time. Um, TikTok, I'm almost getting to a point where I don't want to do anything with it as much, except for doing advertisements and whatever for the store. The store I've opened for eBay is the Parkside shop. So I'm really pleased how this is coming out. The Lord has been blessing me with the sales I've been making and helped me out through the stuff. I have access to more tools to be able to keep going with the business, and hopefully, in time, I can keep on doing this. The main goal is just trying to maintain it, so that's my big thing. But anyways, I want to say thank you all for support and love that I've been getting lately. It's been I'm not gonna say it's been hectic, but mentally it's been draining and it's really been bothering. It's been messing around with me. So I'm just thankful that, I still have help along the way and it means a lot to me. During the course, possibly of a couple of months, um, God willing, there will be some changes to the channel. There's going to have to be a lot of videos I might have to redo and whatnot, because looking how I act in some of these videos, I do acknowledge that, I act a little bit more immature. I will admit that. Um, for the record, and people have noticed with me, the only time I use the word retarded, because I do have a tendency to use that word, um, is only implying when people are stupid. It's not implying to people who have like mental disabilities or whatever. It's not implying that at all. And I do know what that word is usually used for. So I want to keep that. I want to make sure people understand that. So I'm hoping to redo a good majority of the videos I've made and, you know, just do a little bit more. Hence the reason why you guys have been seeing more of the Wishbone episodes, which I have been uploading. That's been me. Just so you guys have something to mess with and check out. But anyways, we're gonna be going into this. Now, people know the views I have on Calvinism, and basically Calvinism is straight up Satanism. It pretty much is. And people will sit here and go like, how come I don't, supposedly represent them properly? Based on the historical evidence that we have, you know, they're being represented correctly because what they're doing is 100% not of scripture. So if anyone sits here and says that Calvinists are Christian, in actuality, they are not Christian. Okay? So let's define what a Calvinist is. What is a Calvinist? The Calvinist belief system, their main belief is double predestination. And what is that? According to their theology, they believe that before you were even born, you were chosen to either go to heaven or you were chosen to go to hell before you were born, which meant that you had no choice to accept God unless He allowed you to choose according to His divine counsel or His sovereignty. And Calvinists, they do hold on to that pretty well. Um, the other thing with that, if you do not hold to the Calvinist belief system, they will see you as scum. They will see you as, and pardon me for using the word, they will see you as piss ants. This is literally what they view you as. Okay? And if you even come against their doctrine, if you expose their doctrine, you are labeled a heretic. Their belief also goes even further to sit here and say, like, for example, James White, who is a well renowned Calvinist, He was asked on a radio show. I don't even know if I have this video posted on my channel. If not, I'll put it up there. But I think this clip could be found pretty easily. He was asked on like some kind of podcast or whatever if was it in God's divine will for a child to be raped. And at least on here I can say it freely without getting hit by TikTok. And straight face as can be, James White literally said, if it was part of God's glory, if it's designed to give him glory, then yes, which is extremely satanic. Okay, you got to be a satanic person to even say something that stupid. Okay, and this is the part where I will say James White is retarded. Okay, this is why I'm going to say this. Now you're saying, then you sit here and say that God created sin. This is the part they take out of context. It's not just Calvinists, but there's people in general, like atheists, for example. They will sit here and say, well, God said he creates peace and evil. If you actually understood what that even meant, he creates peace and calamity. When saying evil, it's not mean like making evil people. He's not responsible for that. It's the choices that they make. And if we go to Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 5, and Calvinists, they have tried to debunk this, but we can literally see past the bullcrap. We can literally see past all that. So in Jeremiah, I'm pulling my Bible out right now. In Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 5, it literally says this. They have also built, wind's blowing. They have also built the high places of Baal to burn their sons with fire for burnt offerings to Baal, which I did not command or speak of, nor did it come into my mind. Not to mention, they fail to understand what happens if someone tries to mess around with children. If anyone were to cause these little ones to sin or stumble or whatever, it'd be better if a millstone were hung around his neck and cast into the ocean to drown. And if Calvinists truly knew their Bible, stuff that they say would not come out of their mouths. But yet it does, nonetheless. Well, so much for them being followers of Christ. So, I've always recommended these two books. What Love Is This by Dave Hunt, and The Gnostic Origins of Calvinism by Dr. Ken Johnson. And going through this paper that we're about to go through right now, pretty much explains a whole lot. Okay, we did history, we went through the stuff. This is legitimately nothing new. Okay, so we can go through all this if you guys want to, but I'll read it anyway just to be on the safe side. So here we have the introduction. Understanding the root system of trees can save property owners both time and money. In the fall of 2017, Hurricane Irma hit Florida, causing significant property damage throughout the state. Thankfully, our property here in Central Florida was spared. The worst of the damages, however, worst of the damages, period. I didn't say that, my bad. However, some of our residents were without water for a while because of a fallen tree. The tree's root system was wrapped around the water line. When that tree fell, it broke a main line that supplied water to the residents on that block. After repairs were made, the folks living there were under a boil water order because of a possible contamination to the water. Had the residents there known about the root system of that tree, measures could have been taken to avoid the damage caused by the fallen tree. Root systems are important not only in the physical world, but also in the realm of theology. Tracing the historical roots of Calvinism gives us a better understanding about the foundation on which on which this system of theology was built. And then we go into the birthplace of Calvinism. Who started the theological system known as Calvinism? That question seems like a no-brainer. Since Calvinism derives its name from the reformer John Calvin, he must have started it, right? At least that seems to be the common opinion of so-called experts. Yeah, and then we realize the so-called experts really don't know what they were talking about. That's the sad part. Okay, the Encyclopedia Britannica article on Calvinism defines it as the theology advanced by John Calvin, a Protestant reformer in the 16th century, and its development by his followers. The term also refers to doctrines, practices derived from the works of Calvin and his followers that are characteristic of the Reformed churches. According to Joel R. Beek, president of Puritan Reformed Theological Seminary, Calvinism is rooted in the 16th century religious renewal in Europe, we refer to as Protestant Reformation. So I haven't gotten into this book yet, but supposedly the Protestant Reformation was literally a Freemasonic movement. And the book clearly mentions Martin Luther and John Calvin, who were also responsible for Freemasonry, which is another reason why I got out of Protestantism. But also, Protestantism did stem from Catholicism. So it's still Catholicism nonetheless. It doesn't matter how you look at it. But the Catholics, they're also responsible for, like I said, for Freemasons. And then later on, if I'm correct, I think back in 1776 or 1777 is when the Illuminati first got formed. And then we had the term Freemason. Okay. And also, you got all these things out here if you want to take a look, see at this, yada, 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 for your Encyclopedia Britannica, if you're trying to prove this dude wrong. Anyways, going back over here. Despite common opinion, church historians paint a much different picture. The actual roots of Calvinism did not begin with the Protestant Reformation. The truth is that the roots of Calvinism go back 1,000 years before John Calvin was even born. Those roots are firmly embedded in the teachings of Augustine, Bishop of Hippo, 354 to 430 AD. Sorry about that, folks. I had to take care of a bit of a heartburn issue, so that's why I paused for a second. I do apologize for that. Anyways, going forward. Dr. Ken Wilson is one of the leading scholars on the life and teachings of Augustine. He received his doctorate while attending the University of Oxford in the United Kingdom. His doctoral thesis was entitled Augustine's Conversion from Traditional Free Choice to Non-Free Will. Non-free free will, sorry. A comprehensive mythology, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dr. Wilson states the 500-year-old theology of John Calvin was directly derived from Augustine, who strayed from the foundation of traditional patristic theology over 1,000 years prior to Calvin. Paul Helm, a Reformed theologian, coined the term Augustinian Calvinism for his view in the book. The Augustinian Calvinist view in divine foreknowledge. For views, obviously, Helm recognizes the connection between Calvinism and Augustine. A Reformed theologian, B.B. Warfield, said, the system of doctrine taught by Calvin is just the Augustinianism common to the whole body of the reformers. And To pause right here for a second, I won't even call myself a reformer. Okay. When I even see this word, immediately comes to my mind Calvinism. Now, please keep in mind, I will admit I'm not educated in a few things. That is true. However, I do have books at my disposal. Hence why I'm here reading to you guys. That's pretty much why I'm doing it, because, I don't think people truly understand, you know, how much Satan is literally trying to pull. I don't think people truly understand, you know, what the Sam Bloody Hill is going on. I don't think they do. So, moving forward, sorry, I got pieces of tongue stuck in my teeth. Sorry. Okay. Even John Calvin himself attributed his system of theology to Augustine. Calvin wrote, Augustine is so wholly within me that if I wished to write a confession of my faith, I could do so with all fullness and satisfaction to myself out of his writings. Calvin quoted Augustine over 400 times in his Institutes of the Christian Religion. It has been stated that one of every 4 pages in Calvin's Institutes contains quotes from Augustine. And yet people still want to keep on quoting Augustine stuff. They still want to keep defending this. And here's the thing. I even heard some Calvinists sit here saying, well, this is the original Christianity. Yeah. According to the Bible, and granted, I haven't read the whole thing. Granted. But reading enough, I can see that it does not teach what they're talking about. And this is why it's important to not cherry pick and actually read the whole thing in its proper context. Read the whole chapter of the book in its context. Because if you start cherry picking and then apply that to whatever religion you're trying to make for yourself, bro, it's not going to look good. It's not going to look good for really anybody. Okay? Reformed theologian C. Matthew McMahon, I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly, excuse me. Calvin, for this reason, would deem himself not a Calvinist but an Augustinian. Sounds about right. Without a doubt, Calvinism finds its roots in the theology of Augustine. So that for right now, folks, we're going to pause right now only because I need to start hitting the sack. But we can see where this is going right now. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that is going on, folks, and we need to be alert and we need to be aware. Okay, we need to have the full armor of God. We need to have the full armor of God. Okay, and we need to make sure we're not giving heed to seducing spirits. We need to test the spirits. Okay. The other thing I also say right here, right now, is it doesn't matter if these people can confess Christ. Truly and honestly, it doesn't matter. And here's why it doesn't matter. Because in Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 through 23, it says this. Now, this is when people, when they say they profess Christ, and they say right here, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? Have we cast out demons in your name and done many wonderful works in your name? And then I will profess to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work iniquity. Okay? And there's another verse that says, this kind worships me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. It says that for a reason. Okay? Now, granted, those are verses. Granted. In a sense, if you want to call me a cherry picker for that, okay, have at it. But here's the thing. Those verses have a humongous significance as warnings to the general public, if that makes sense. So we're going to go through this, and I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to keep telling people this. Don't take my word for it, but research the subjects for yourself. Read the Bible for yourself. But pray before you do. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Period. So that's all I got for you guys right now. So with that, folks, God bless you all. And I hope to see you in the next video. God bless.